Hello, hope you're doing well, and welcome back to Worship Wednesday. Today's subject is Houston. This will be Houston of the Cleveland class, or Houston 2 in game. So, CL-81 was laid down as the 19th member of the Cleveland class, originally named Vickersburg, on August 4th, 1941. On October 12th, 1942, she was renamed Houston in honor of the previous Houston, CA-30, of the Northampton class heavy cruisers who'd been sunk in the Battle of the Sunda Strait. 5 months before her renaming, 1,000 naval recruits were sworn in a ceremony in downtown Houston. They planned to be the new crew of the next Houston to be named. Only one of these Houston volunteers went on to actually serve on CL 81, the others went to other duties. In honor of these men who volunteered to avenge the crew of the former Houston, so this is Northampton version, a Liberty ship was built and named after them and was launched on October 28th, 1942, named USS Houston Volunteers. Sail 81 was launched as the third U.S. Navy ship to bear this name, Houston, on June 19th, 1943, and she went on her shakedown cruise starting February 1944. After sailing around the Caribbean and heading up to Boston for some training, Houston was sent off the Pacific, arriving at the Maharo Atoll on the 31st. She was then assigned to Task Group 58.4, which sent around Essex and light carriers Langley and Cowpens, and she participated in the invasions of the Mariana and Palau Islands. During this time, the Japanese made their counterattack with their first mobile fleet, which led to the Battle of the Philippine Sea, aka the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. A lot of planes went down that day on the Japanese side, less so on the American side. Afterwards, there was some fleet reorganization, and Houston found herself assigned to Task Group 38.2, joining Bunker Hill, Intrepid, and Hancock, as well as light carriers Independence and Cabot, and the battleships Iowa and New Jersey. The task group then began striking targets and aiding in the invasions of Palau and the Philippines, leaving for Ulithi Atoll to prep for the next move, arriving there on October 1st. The fleets were then reorganized again, with Houston now joining Task Group 38.1, which included Hornet and Wasp, this being the later version of them, as well as the light carriers Monterey and Cowpens. So Houston Cowpens will probably have some sort of quote lines when Cowpens releases. Task Group 38.1 moved to begin attacks on Okinawa and Formosa, with the Formosan air battle lasting 3 days. The crew of the Houston fought hard. Unfortunately, she took a hit from torpedo bomber on October 14th while she was making a hard right turn, which caused the ship to tilt slightly, which allowed the torpedo to wreak havoc on the bottom of Houston's hull, flooding all her machinery spaces, and killed all power on the ship. She was dead in the water. Damage control teams were able to control the flooding and pump some sections empty, but the ship wasn't going anywhere anytime fast. USS Boston and later the tug Pawnee took over, began the process of towing Houston to safety, with most of the crew, minus the captain and damage control parties, being evacuated because they didn't have the resources to take care of all those people. And these light cruisers take up to like 1,000 people, so that's a lot of men to feed. Sadly, on October 16th, another torpedo struck Houston, this time in her stern. Fortunately, damage control parties got the subsequent flames and explosions under control quickly, but Mora and Ben were evacuated, leaving just 200 aboard. Houston gradually made it to safety, undergoing emergency repairs with one of the repair ships, and then eventually made it back home, where she was under repair in New York when the war ended. Her post-war service was peaceful but relatively short. She ended up cruising around Europe, the Mediterranean, stopping by in Egypt, going back home, takes part in some exercises, going back to Europe, and she was decommissioned on December 15th, 1947, and stricken from the Naval Register for scrapping in March 1959. So for her skills, for first one, Space City Strike, you probably already know this. Houston is the location for mission control for all the space missions. So when you say Houston, we've got a problem, they talk about Houston. It's because Houston, Texas was the basis of mission control for space programs. Fortitude and Chaos, this represents her being torpedoed, lowers her speed, she gets a little bit of healing, reference her brave damage control team and all the excellent effort they put in. Quotes, there wasn't too much, but strengthening, I'm so strong now. I bet I could hit escape velocity with ease, referencing, spaceships hitting escape velocity to get out of the atmosphere. And I imagine once Cowpens joins, Cowpens will likely have a quote line with Houston. That is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.